Hello world, my name's Lindsay and I have no idea what's going on with my hair either before you ask. Okay, so the Korean Grand Prix. Red Bull have now sealed the Constructors' Championship as well as the Drivers' Championship, which is to be expected obviously, and they only had to basically end this race 2 points ahead of McLaren, and obviously getting the win meant they were going to be 7 points ahead no matter what happened, so that sealed that for them, and there will be music coming out of the Red Bull garages for years and years to come, etc. And I have worked out how to do special effects, so I will just say for them, yay. Okay, so that's them anyway. Moving on to the actual circuit, I noticed quite like the chaps on BBC did on Saturday that there was about 3 fans there, which wasn't too good. A little bit nervous about them not turning up today because obviously, you know, they can just as easily move the Grand Prix somewhere else, and if Korea want to keep their Grand Prix, they should get some, you know, fans behind that. Obviously on the race day there was loads more going on, dancing folk running about all over the place, so obviously they were a little bit more committed than I thought they were. Moving on to the actual race, kind of bog standard for the year, although there were a few things that I wanted to highlight in particular. Team orders. Now this is something, if you're not familiar with F1, team orders are basically where the team say to driver A, let driver B pass because he's faster than you or because he needs more points or something like that, which caused a lot of fuss in the past. They banned it for a while. Now they've brought it back. Red Bull had said, we'll never do it, and then did it. And Ferrari get a lot of stick for doing it. And to be honest, I think today highlighted why it can be necessary. Fernando Alonso was held up behind the Ferrari of Massa, and it was just getting a little bit ridiculous. Finally he took him in the pits and then started setting fast lap. You can see from the team's perspective, if they had released him a bit earlier, maybe he would have got up to the position of challenging Button and then on to kind of the Webber-Hamilton scuffle that was going on. I would really have liked to have seen what he'd done with that. I think that team orders should be banned where it's for points for the driver. I think that if you take many years ago, before quite a lot of people were probably watching, there was a very famous incident with Schumacher and Barrichello where Barrichello was leading, he was out racing him, and he was told to let Michael pass for the championship. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the team should be focusing on the Constructors' Championship. That's what gets them the money. That's what proves that their team is doing a good job. And the Drivers' Championship, that's just kind of, that should be an extra benefit. That should be what you aim for after that. And so I think that team orders should be allowed where the team will benefit. In a case where the team aren't going to benefit, then what's the point? You know, for example, earlier in the year we had Vettel passing Webber, and even though Christian Horner had been, oh, we will never do this, and that was more, I felt, for the Drivers' Championship than the actual team. That was, if you look at my blog, the magnificent massive Christian Horner saying that 25 points and 18 points were more points than 18 points and 25 points, which didn't make up any sense at all, from the constantly vibrating head of Red Bull, who really needs to stop drinking so much of his own beverage. So, you know, a lot of people will think I'm biased because I am an Alonso fan, but I really, really think that where the team is going to benefit, they need to be using team orders. Moving on to something that's caused a bit of wonderment this week, which has been Sad Hamilton. Why is Lewis suddenly so depressed? We're not too sure. They keep going on about his personal life, but he's broken up with his pussycat doll about 12 times and hasn't really seemed fazed by it. My personal belief is that he's not pleased that he's not the top dog anymore. He's always been the #1 driver at McLaren, and Jensen's just outdriven him this season. Maybe not in today's race, but just over the entirety of the season, I've just found that Button has been more interesting to watch. Perhaps if Hamilton hadn't taken himself out of so many races by being a bit too aggressive, we would be seeing it the other way around. But I think he is a little bit concerned that maybe he's not top dog anymore and he's next in the line to get kicked out. Maybe he's just not happy where he is. Maybe he wants to move team. But if you look at it from this point of view, he wants to be a #1 driver, and where else is he going to get the chance? Ferrari's got Alonso. There's no chance they'd put those two together again. It was just a nightmare at McLaren. You know, you've got obviously Red Bull, who've got Vettel. Webber isn't, I mean, he might be a #2 driver, but he isn't exactly rubbish. So I don't think I could see Hamilton replacing him. The only place is, other than that he's got to go is down. and he's not going to be willing to do that. So perhaps he feels like he's in a little bit of a quandary. He's not quite sure what to do with his career. But I think he just needs to cheer up, to be honest. You know, it's racing. That's how it goes. Sometimes you'll be outdoing your teammate, other times you won't be. He just needs to suck it up and get on with it, in my opinion. But then again, that was always going to be my opinion. Another thing to mention from this weekend was we didn't have Eddie Jordan on the BBC coverage, but I didn't miss him because we had Karun Chandhok, who I believe is actually a very informative, entertaining person to have on the telly. He filled in beautifully. With all due respect to David Coulthard, as I'd said in my qualifying blog yesterday, I do think it is good to have a current driver commenting, because he was going into much more detail about why things were affecting the drives, why things were affecting the tyres. David Coulthard, his knowledge is 5 years ago, and whilst he is very insightful and has some good points, I think that it is good to get a current driver. And frankly, if Karun Chandhok doesn't get a drive next year, I could quite happily see him a little bit more on my TV doing a bit of the commentary, because I felt he was spot on in a lot of places. So yeah, that's been the race week for me. I didn't find that there was many shocking incidences apart from perhaps Petrov, mounting Schumacher like some kind of crazy cow or something. Not sure where I'm going with that, but other than that, I just found there wasn't very much about the race that was anything to write home about. Very standard, but I still think that this race should be kept on the calendar because of that long straight. It's absolutely fantastic for overtakes. But that's all from me this week anyway, folks. Until next time, bye bye.